So for the last few weeks, we've been talking about big grown-up stuff, getting all of your legal documents in order, if you will. And I think a lot of people are intimidated by calling a lawyer and doing this. Part of it is like the realization that we are grown-ups.
Right, sure.
And need to do grown-up things. But also people worry about the reality of getting their house in order means they're realizing something could happen to me someday. So I've been through this process with you. I found it to be painless. You made this system of doing the paperwork very easy, but maybe you can kind of talk us through what that process is to let people know when you do call an attorney, they're there to help you get things in order, but they also make it very simple. You don't have to think of all the things you need to know. You're going to tell them the things they need to know.
Yeah, we try to make it as simple as possible for sure. We usually kickstart the process by emailing a estate planning questionnaire, and it asks, simple things like gets the family tree and everybody's names and dates of birth, but then it asks like, who do you want your assets to go to if you pass away? Who do you want your healthcare agent to be if you can't communicate your own healthcare decisions? Do you want to be an organ donor? Do you want to be cremated versus buried? All those kinds of things. So once we get that questionnaire filled out, then we'll have our initial meeting and we'll go over it, and then I'll recommend an estate planning package that fits that particular family's needs. Generally speaking, it's generally going to be a trust package for most people. It's always going to be a trust package if they have minor children, or depending on their assets, if they have an LLC, we're always going to need to do a trust to avoid probate in those situations. But I'll just go through what the trust package, what we call a trust package, essentially consists of, including powers of attorney and living wills and what all those things are about. Then we will schedule a time for them to come back in roughly 3 to 4 weeks to come back to the office and sign everything. And then in the meantime, we will email all the documents to the client. So they will have already seen the documents and they can familiarize yourself with the documents and kind of be prepared to ask questions when they come in to sign them.
Now, I think what gets to be the hard part after you've done all of that is then people are like, oh, now I got to put all those assets into the trust. And something that you do is you get that paperwork all in order to take to the banks. You file everything with the county to get the assets changed over and so forth into the trust. So it's not like there's a lot of balls to pick up after the fact and to finish the process. You really get everything in order to do it. Because I've heard from a lot of people like, oh, I have the trust, but I never actually put my house in it. So, but you take it that extra step to make sure all of those assets do get placed into the trust.
We'll always make sure as part of our assignment to make sure that the person's real estate is put into the trust. So we prepare the deeds, get them recorded. If they have an LLC, we do the articles of amendment necessary, get those filed with Arizona Corporation Commission to make sure the trust now owns that LLC. But then we will give the client some homework, and that's to put their financial assets into the trust. But in today's day and age, it's relatively easy for the most part. Pretty much all financial accounts, whether they're life insurance or bank accounts or annuities or retirement accounts, all have the option to designate a pay on death beneficiary. And we'll coach them on how to do that. A lot of times it'll be spouse first, then the trust, and we'll go into all of those beneficiary designations and how to do that to make sure that when you ultimately pass away, it trickles into the trust as necessary.
I feel like a lot of this stuff falls into the category of you don't know what you don't know. And so the best thing to do is go to somebody who knows. And knows what you need to know and what you need to have done and help you get it done.
That's exactly right.
Really kind of the bottom line. If you don't know what needs to be done, you don't have to. You're going to know what needs to be done.
and we will tell them exactly what they need to do in their situation, that's for sure.
Excellent. All right. Well, thank you. And I hope you heed this advice. Get your ducks in order.